Welcome. Today we're diving into an absolutely monumental chapter in our history. We're talking about a fascinating 300-year stretch that literally transformed the entire Indian subcontinent. In this, we're going to unpack the establishment of the Delhi Sultanate. We're looking at an era stretching from roughly 1206 all the way to 1526 CE. It's just this incredible, sweeping story of conquest, assimilation, and some massive cultural shifts. So to really wrap our heads around this massive empire, we've got to start with one central question. How did early external invasions completely reshape India's destiny? You see, history isn't just random events happening out of nowhere, right? It's a direct chronological chain of cause and effect. The political and cultural landscape of medieval India was actively shattered and then totally rebuilt by specific, really powerful military movements that came pouring in from the northwest. Now, long before a permanent sultanate was officially established, the groundwork was actually laid by some earlier, relentless incursions. The main military catalysts here were Mahmud of Ghazni, and right after him, Muhammad Ghori. Their repeated campaigns violently disrupted the existing political order, and by doing that, they created the exact power vacuums that allowed the Delhi Sultanate to take permanent root. It was a direct ripple effect from these specific invasions. Mahmud of Ghazni. During the period between c. 1027 CE, he attacked India 17 times. He started his invasions in India during the period when the Rajput power had declined. In 1008 CE, Mahmud defeated Anandapala, son of Jayapala, in the Second Battle of Hind near Peshawar. In 1014 CE, Mahmud took Thaneshwar and burnt the temple of Mathura. In 1018 CE, he sacked Kannauj by defeating its Chandela king. In 1025 CE, in his 16th expedition, he plundered the Somnath temple dedicated to Shiva in Kathiawar, Saurashtra. The 17 invasions proved very costly to Indian subcontinent. They made the Indian frontiers weak. His conquest opened the gates of India to be conquered from the northwest. This made it easier for other Afghan and Turkish rulers to enter India into the Gangetic Valley at any time. One such ruler was Muhammad Ghori. Unlike Mahmud of Ghazni, Muhammad Ghori was very much interested in establishing a permanent empire in India and not merely looting its wealth. His campaigns were well organized, and whenever he conquered any territory, he left a general behind to govern it in his absence. He was the real founder of the Islamic Empire in India. There were as many as 7 major invasions of Muhammad Ghori against India. In 1178 CE, he again marched to conquer Gujarat, but the Chalukya ruler of Gujarat, Solanki Bhima II, defeated him at the Battle of Kayadara. But this defeat did not discourage Muhammad Ghori. By 1190 CE, he secured Multan, Sindh and Punjab, which paved his way for a further thrust into the Gangetic Doab. Ghori's possession of Punjab and his attempt to advance into the Gangetic Doab brought him into direct conflict with the Rajput ruler, Prithviraja Chauhan. The conflict started with claims of Tabarhinda, present-day Bhatinda. In the first battle fought at Tarain, a place near Karnal in the present-day Haryana, Ghori's army was routed and he narrowly escaped death. Prithviraj conquered Bhatinda, but he made no efforts to garrison it effectively. This gave Ghori an opportunity to reassemble his forces and make preparations for another advance into India. Second Battle of Tarain. This battle is regarded as one of the turning points in Indian history, as Prithviraj Chauhan was defeated and Ghori emerged successful. Interestingly, the Indian forces were more in number, but Turkish forces under Ghori were well organized with swift-moving cavalry. The Turkish cavalry used 2 superior technologies, namely the use of horseshoes, which gave their horses a long life and protected their hooves, and the use of iron stirrups, which gave a good hold to the horse rider and a better striking power in the battle. a large number of Indian soldiers were killed. Prithviraj escaped, but was captured near Saraswati. He was allowed to rule over Ajmer for some time. This is evident from the joint coins issued by Ghori featuring the name of Ghori on one side and Prithviraj on the other. However, soon after, Prithviraj was executed on the charges of conspiracy. The Turkish army captured the fortresses of Hansi, Saraswati, Samana, Delhi, and Ajmer. Battle of Chandwar, Ghori defeated Jayachandra, the ruler of Kanauj of the Gahadwalas dynasty. Thus, the battles of Tarain and Chandwar laid the foundations of Turkish rule in northern India. After this invasion, Kutubuddin Aybak was made the viceroy of Muhammad Ghori. Ghori returned to Ghazni to carry out his conquests in the western frontiers, leaving the affairs of India in the hand of his trusted slave general Kutubuddin Aybak, who continued his conquests in India. In 1105 CE, he also attacked Bhima II, the Solanki king of Gujarat, who defeated Aybak, however, prevailed in his next battle with Bhima II and thus conquered Gujarat. He next conquered Bundelkhand, ruled by the Chandela Rajput. Simultaneously, Muhammad Bakhtiar Khalji, another general of Muhammad Ghori, conquered Bihar in 1197 CE and Bengal in 1202 CE and destroyed the universities of Nalanda and Vikramshila. Khalji thus became the viceroy of Bengal and Bihar. Ghori had to again come to India in 1205 CE to crush the revolt of the Khokhars. However, in 1206 CE, Ghori was killed by someone near Damyak district of Jhelum while going back to Ghazni. The reign of India passed on to Aybak, who laid the foundation of the slave dynasty. Okay, so who were these new rulers anyway? Well, they were called sultans. Originally, these were commanders of Turkish and Afghan descent. But here is the absolute game changer, especially from our Indian perspective. Unlike previous invaders who just plundered and went straight back home, these rulers stayed, they settled down. They made the Indian subcontinent their actual home, setting up a formal administration right from Delhi that would go on to govern for centuries. Now, what's really interesting about this is the sheer span of time we're talking about. I mean, from 1206 all the way down to 1526 CE. That is well over 3 centuries of history. But it's super important to note this wasn't just one unbroken family line. The term Delhi Sultanate is actually an umbrella term. It covers 5 totally distinct dynasties that ruled in succession, basically passing the baton of power from one generation to the next. Let's trace how this succession actually played out. It all kicked off with the slave or Ilbari dynasty, and they ruled from roughly 1206 to 1290 CE. After that, the Khaljis took over the reign. Then came the Tughlaqs, who held on to power for nearly a whole century until 1413. Final chapters were written by the Sayyid dynasty until 1451. And finally, the Lodis, who ruled right up until the Sultanate eventually fell in 1520s. Getting to know each dynasty's specific era is really vital to understanding how the whole period evolved. And geographically speaking, these sultans had massive ambition. I mean, they absolutely did not just hunker down in Delhi and stay put. Their expansion rolled out in 3 major waves. First off, they strongly consolidated their power over North India, taking over really wealthy regions like Malwa and Gujarat. Next, they pushed aggressively southwards, penetrating the super challenging terrain of the Deccan Plateau. And finally, they expanded their footprint deep into South India, essentially forging a truly pan-Indian empire. But what did all of this actually mean for the people on the ground? Well, the Sultanate's rule triggered permanent, far-reaching changes across Indian society, administration, and cultural life. It was basically the birth of this remarkable composite culture. Indigenous Indian traditions began to blend seamlessly with brand new Islamic administrative frameworks. And that fusion forever altered the daily lives, the art, the music, and the architecture of the entire subcontinent. Which leaves us with a pretty compelling thought to chew on. How did these far-reaching societal and cultural changes set the stage for modern India? Because honestly, the echoes of those 300 years, that beautiful, complex cultural fusion, they're still very much alive in our everyday lives right now. I want you to think deeply about that as you reflect on this incredible era of our history. Thank you so much for joining, and keep the curiosity burning.